It's grasping the most tangible aspect of what you're trying to accomplish, being able to control it because you now have the ability to, by physical and mental preparation to understand what you're trying to accomplish and go after the task. Didn't say about success, I just said go after it. For me as a baseball player, and it could relate to anything, is that my job as a pitcher was to execute a quality pitch consecutively until either the manager takes the ball or the game is over, with a major X factor caveat of not allowing the exterior distractions to come into the task at hand. Period, exclamation point. Parents are pushing their kids because they want their kid to get the scholarship. To me, it's not about airplanes, it's not about yachts. Love it, work your ass off, always think about trying to get better.
Today I'm sitting with former professional Major League Baseball player Al Leiter. Al was drafted by the New York Yankees in 1984 as a second-round pick. Al played professionally from 1987 to 2005, having played on 4 professional teams, including the Yankees, the Blue Jays, the Marlins, and the Mets. Al was a 2-time All-Star, and he won the Roberto Clemente Award. He pitched a no-hitter in 1996, and he's a 3-time World Series champion. After Al retired as a player, he began his television broadcasting career working at Fox, ESPN, and Yes Networks. Al has won 2 New York Sports Emmys, and he has been nominated for a National Sports Emmy as a studio analyst 6 times. In 2019, Al was also named a baseball operations advisor for the New York Mets, where he focused on scouting and player development with an emphasis on mental preparation for pitchers. Al, welcome to the show.
Good to be here, Jay. You handsome son of a bitch, you.
Before we start,
what's on your shirt, by the way? I have watched your podcast, so I put on like kind of a dorky dad shirt.
Yeah, I just wear whatever.
I see the guys, they're wearing their hat. I was gonna wear like a hat sideways or backwards, like whoa.
Yo.
You're wearing a hoodie.
Exactly, I got a hoodie on.
Like,
I'm a tech guy, right? So listen, Al, as you know, I bring people on the show that I consider to be docents, and docents are people that inspire, influence, and guide others. They are the relentless people of our day. They are the biggest high achievers out there. You, my friend, you are a docent. In fact, you were one of my docents growing up. So this is a special interview for me. I've interviewed a lot of different people. 10 years ago, I did interviews with 75 different tech entrepreneurs. Now I'm doing a bunch of interviews with people that I call docents. I'm writing a book on docents, which is a term that I'm redefining. But anyway, as I said, this is a special interview for me because you were one of my docents growing up, and we both come from the same hometown. So people don't realize that, about to find out. We both come from Bayville, New Jersey. We attended the same high school. We walked through the same halls. We had I think we even had some of the same teachers and coaches because we're not that far apart. We're like a decade apart. So you really did pave the way for a lot of people growing up. I want to thank you for that. I don't know that it was necessarily your goal as a kid, but it was somebody that we looked up to. You were somebody we looked up to, and your brother Mark, as well as Jeff Musselman and some others. And we'll get into all of that in a few minutes. But if you could just tell everybody about our hometown, Bayville, and how that's had an impact on you, the people, the culture, and your parents.
Wow. So that's a lot. I appreciate you saying that because as my career progressed, as you know, coming out of Central Regional, our alma mater, I had the choice to go to a variety of different colleges. I chose University of Florida. I was a bonus baby. I was a second pick by the Yankees. I signed for what was at that time considered a lot of money. And I thought I would try the baseball route. 3 years later, out of our high school, I'm pitching in Yankee Stadium. And then a very circuitous route with 2 shoulder operations, going back to college, getting my degree online, realizing that if this baseball thing doesn't work out after I had a couple years in the big leagues, I didn't make a ton of money at the time, that I'll go do something else. Jay, I actually thought, based on our upbringing and what I envisioned, even though I had 2 brothers already in pro ball, my brother Kurt, who graduated Central in 1979, my brother Mark, who played 10 years in the big leagues with a variety of teams. He was before me in 81, and then I was 84. I thought if I didn't make it, I'd go back. I'd go to Rutgers, get some sort of engineering degree. I was interested in that, and start my life. Yeah. As a result of the years of playing and then figuring it out, there was a lot of figuring out, that when I did make it, and I guess in baseball it's the success of on the field, winning championships, etc., all-star games, you make good money. And then my whole point of coming back to my hometown, because I I'm charitable. My wife and I give money through our foundation, et cetera. Was what could I do to a place? Now I'm going to say this, and people watching this, maybe by our own family, when I say I grew up poor, it wasn't a sad poor.
Right.
It was a very middle class, blue collar existence.
Same here. Yeah.
And that's what it was. Yeah, and it wasn't bad. Like I thought, I'm sure
we didn't know the
same
difference.
way. Like, man, this is cool. Like, yeah, we're going to the beach. You still had Dairy Queen. I was hanging out with my friends.
Great place to be poor, by the way, is
to
the Jersey Shore.
Yeah, right? I mean, it's, get on the Tom's River, like go crabbing, go fishing, whatever, get out to the ocean, whatever. So what I did was, and I appreciate you saying what you said about me. I wanted to give back to our town. And when I was a kid, and you as well, did you play baseball?
A little kid, I did. Little kid, but mostly football, yeah.
Okay, so even though we're talking about our town, I'm sure this goes across the country for other people to maybe relate. Sure. When my mom and dad would drop me off for a Little League summer night, they would drop me off at Sylvan Lakes, the Pee Wee Field, then drive my brother Mark over to Bayville Park, which is about a mile or so away, drop him off, and then drop Kurt off over at Morge Avenue, which was the senior league. Like, yeah, it's crazy. So so you ride bikes, like it wasn't like
yeah.
So fast forward, I was like, this would be cool. I'm tired of listening to Tom's River Little League, Todd Frazier, and all this. They were good, whatever. But let's make it where. So when I built this field, or I paid to have the field built, and I was heavily involved to make sure it was done right and nobody got ripped off. The impetus behind that field, Leiter Field, down at Morge Avenue, was the growth of a community that rallied behind my contribution to say, wow, we're proud of this. One, we're proud of this guy who made it, but yet let's make this really awesome. Yeah. So that's the give back. And then I think the idea of somebody that was where we grew up, that did make it and did some cool things, I think it's always kind of the lead runner, if you will, or one that could have the baton that passes it to the next person. You being one that's been very successful and have done amazing things. The one thing, and it's on the scoreboard at
the new one you're putting up, right? At the high school?
Variety of the high school.
Oh, the Morge Field. Okay.
And the rec field was just, I never liked when people would tell somebody that you can't do it, or the possibility that you're either not good enough. Mm-hmm. And I tell kids all the time, don't let people say that. Don't let them. Why let them stop you from being all that you can be? Yeah. I don't know where the hell that ends up. So the belief in yourself, no matter what it is, technology, baseball, sports, Wall Street, whatever. Music. I know you're into music. You ask people about rappers. Don't you ask me about rappers?
It's coming.
Other than Run DMC, I'd have to go back to the Sugar Hill.
Sugar Hill.
But Sugar Hill. So whatever. Thank you, Docent. Although I am looking up Docent because when I lived in the city,
the Docents are like the guides in a museum or an art gallery. They're volunteers.
Yeah.
But in many ways, you're a volunteer you're giving us right, as a docent. So that's why I kind of use it as a kind of an analogy or something, because these docents are these high achievers and we watch them from afar. They don't have to necessarily be famous people. Early days, the docents might be your parents. They could be your coaches. They could be other kids that you looked up to at the varsity level when you were a kid. But as you go throughout your life, you keep finding new docents that you attach to, whether you know them directly or indirectly, and they're guiding and influencing you towards your success. And over time, you might become a docent yourself.
Have you ever, I don't know if they even have greyhound racing anymore. You ever been to a dog race?
No, I've seen it on television when I was at Monmouth Park or something, but no.
Okay, so when I was with the Yankees in the minor leagues, the big league club was in Fort Lauderdale, and then the minor leagers were down in a place called Dayton, which is right near Hollywood. So Hollywood Racetrack had the dog track, and I said about the baton, the little metal rabbit, and the dogs follow the rabbit, and the place in Hollywood, the announcer would say, "Here comes Rusty," and that was Rusty was the rabbit. But that was the thing that you chased. And when you mentioned about varsity where we grew up, and as small as that sounds to maybe some people, I looked up to the guys in front
That's
of
right.
my brothers, like from my brother John and Kurt and Mark, and then you mentioned Jeff Musselman, and there were some great athletes, John Kilmurray, and like guys back in the 70s for me. So yeah, that was cool. Like you'd go and say, hey, I want to be that. Like
you mentioned your brothers, right? So I want to go into this. You come from a baseball family. I mean, this is unique in many ways, right? Big family, 6 siblings. Is that correct, right? 6 siblings, 5 brothers. All the brothers played baseball. 3 of you guys went pro to some capacity.
7.
7. Oh, 6 siblings and 7 of you. Is that right?
I have there's 6 boys, 1 girl.
1 girl. That's right.
One
that's right.
girl is 13 minutes older than me. I'm last of 7.
That's right.
So my sister Alexia was the only girl.
Yeah.
And 6 boys. Yeah.
It's amazing. And just so we be clear, so Mark went pro, you went pro, and Kurt went pro AA, right? And what
Yes.
he was Oklahoma State, and then AA. Where did he go? Where did he get picked up?
The Orioles.
Orioles.
So he signed with the Orioles, went up through the Orioles system, got to AA, but he was like Ocean Zone and All Shore and All State.
Yeah.
When I was, in 8th grade.
Yeah, my
7th grade.
stepfather used to tell me
like
like Kurt was amazing, and then it didn't work out for him, but he was just an amazing athlete. As like the kids in high school, like because he was around your era too. And anyway, long story short is, what the hell is the family secret? Like, because it ain't just that. Now you got your son going pro. You had Mark Jr. that went pro. Cam's really good, right? Kurt's kid. I mean, what's going on here, bro? Is it just genetics, or is it you got a secret and you need to tell us what's going on here? There's a combination probably.
A lot of people ask me that. Well, for one, we couldn't hit, so we eliminate hitting because the Leiters couldn't hit. So we'll start with that negative. You know what's funny? I don't know. My father was an athletic guy, but he never played sports, if that makes sense.
He's a big guy. Yeah.
He was a big guy. Big, strong guy. Was in the Army at the end of World War II, and like that guy. My mom was a short, little 5'1", 2" English lady from Liverpool. My dad met her after World War II, so she didn't know anything about sports. Sure. I think it came to this, and it's interesting that we're talking about how things evolve. My oldest brother took a liking to baseball mostly because of my dad was a Mets fan as a result of growing up in Long Island and loved Casey Stengel and thought the whole Lovable Losers at inception in 1962. Eventually, they move on to Shea Stadium in 64, and then they win a World Series in 69. So my brother John, he was a big Tom Seaver fan. So he went to my mom and said, I want to join the rec in Bayville. And I think it was my mom to this day, she said it was like $6 to join or something, the Berkeley Little League. And that was kind of the start of us liking baseball. But when you have a big family, Jay, and we're athletic, like we're either beating each other up, fighting after dinner, wrestling in the family room, or playing football in the back. It was always that, And we took a liking to baseball. So my dad put a batting cage, very rudimentary, but he chopped down these cedar trees where we grew up there near Pine Beach. And so, it just evolved, right? And it was an aggressive environment because we were all guys. And my dad was like, he was a dad that was like, all right, if you don't like it, go kick his ass. Like I can't, Dad. Go and get a baseball bat. No, I don't want to kill my brother. It's like it was this whole like
crazy house,
crazy but fun. Like
7 kids. I got 4 kids, and it's crazy. I can't imagine what 7 kids had to be like. Jesus.
Oh my God, yeah. So I don't know, man. Yeah, you mentioned it. We're all pitchers.
But like you said, he put a batting cage up, and basically you're throwing balls, and you're refining your craft, and you guys are all doing this. And most kids aren't. They go to baseball practice, they come home, and they don't really put it in at home. You guys were putting it in.
Yeah, you're right. And it's funny, and I'm saying about my father. My father passed my first full year in the big leagues in 1988. He was only 61. My mom's still alive. She'll be 95 in October. But when I remember playing catch, my dad was a merchant seaman, so he used to ship out on U.S. lines and sea land, the big container ships. So my dad was at home a lot, but I loved him and I wanted his approval. But I remember on the side of our house, we'd play catch, and his rule was, if I can't catch it, I'm going inside. And as simple as that, like now we have like trainers and coaches and like it's analytics and all this technology. My dad was like, dude, if you don't hit me in the chest and I got to run for it, I'm done. So like you talk about like, even as a little kid, like, all right, I still want Dad to be out here. So and actually, it was a pretty good
Yeah,
rule
yeah.
because I started throwing and hitting them in the
Yeah, yeah.
chest. Yeah, as simple as that is.
And so just as an example, as a kid through like say middle school into high school, you were pitching every day, all year long?
Not every
No.
day, but I would say in the summer, we were we used to play these real sophisticated involved games. I told you with the batting cage on the side of the house, but my brothers, some friends in the neighborhood, we would wear remember like the plastic
Yeah.
helmets of each team. And I think Burger Chef or one of the businesses nearby, like you could buy like Major League Cat.
Yeah,
Remember those
yeah.
plastic
Yeah, I remember
helmets?
that. Yeah.
So we accumulated like it seemed like we tried to get every team, but we probably had whatever 10, 12 teams. So you'd wear that hat. Back in the day before computer, you'd go through your weekly sporting news and you'd find all the box scores, and then you'd create your lineup. Stratomatic was real in our life. We had baseball cards on the bed. Like it was really, really thoughtful and you know, really involved with how we were creative and how we thought. So that I think inspired us to like play and hit and throw and run
Because you're playing.
all that.
Yeah, kids are outside playing. Unlike today, they're sitting on Roblox or something on a computer all day long.
Yeah, it's sad.
It
it's
is
sad.
sad.
It's sad.
They got to get out.
We had a field. So I was Berkeley Township, obviously, because I went to Central, but I had a mailing address of Pine Beach, which was, it's quirky down there. So the Pine Beach field was right near our house. And on the weekends, the kids in the area knew that the Leiter boys would always go over on a Saturday to play.
Yeah.
And we would go like all day. And it started out with 4 or 5 guys, and then all of a sudden 6 or 7 or 8. And all of a sudden it was like, we had too many guys. It was like, hey, all right, we're going to have guys sit out a couple innings. And that we would do that. You'd bring a gallon of water, and you'd bring like peanut butter jelly sandwich for the day. My mom was thrilled to just
Get out of the house.
And that was our day, So, but it was all organized by us and their friends and kids. Yeah, ride your bike, man, with your glove on your handlebar and your bat over your shoulder. Yeah.
So Al, let me ask you. Growing up, was Dad a docent then? Obviously, your older brothers were docents. Who were some other docents that you looked up professionally too? Some of the pros.
Yeah, I think if you don't learn from your family, good and bad, then something's wrong, right? So I'm one to extrapolate the good and the bad.
Yeah, learn what not to do as well as what to do, right?
Right. So there were things that, like I would imagine in a lot of families that we know, not the most functional. Mine being that, it was tough at times, but there was always love. We always knew there was love, but tough love at times. So as the youngest of 7, I was able to see from my older brothers right on down, and my sister, what I liked and what I didn't like. And I don't know where it happens, Jay, to where I was able to identify what I thought I needed to do to be successful, to get out of there, to go for it. But I comprised kind of a plan based on the good and the bad. So a lot of it, I can't think of a specific moment, but I think it's just a compilation of everything. Professionally, hands down, when I got to the big leagues, Dave Righetti, who was a guy I looked up to, he was older than me. He was already a big league star, had thrown a no-hitter for the Yankees. He was Rookie of the Year for the Yankees. I was a Mets fan growing up. As I told you, my dad loved the Mets. And to this day, Dave Righetti, like, if he called me right now and said, hey, I need you for something, like, and there's a handful of guys that I feel that way, but Rags really comes to mind. Because of our friendship and how much he took me under his wing. I mean, my first full year in the big leagues, there weren't many single guys in the big leagues. And Billy Martin was the manager in '88. I got called up in '87. I go to spring training in Fort Lauderdale. While I knew I was good, I didn't know, it's a very insecure position in baseball, especially with George Steinbrenner, the late George Steinbrenner was the owner. He was crazy. He was like, sending guys down and up, and I remember it was the end of spring training, and Righetti came over to me. We used to hang out a little bit, after, have beer, whatever. And he said, hey, where are you staying, kid, when we go to New York? And I said, Rags, I don't know if I made the team. And he looked at me. He's like, where are you going to stay? I'm like, I don't know. He goes, well, you're going to stay with me. So my first full year in the big leagues, I'm Dave Righetti's.
That's cool.
We're living at this house in Englewood Cliffs up in Bergen County. So I'm calling home to all my friends who are still in college. Like
you're living the dream.
Like, oh my God, Dave. I was like a little 12-year-old girl, like, oh my God, he asked me to live with him. And boy, was that a blast,
That's
man.
So cool.
That was fun. So yeah, he was tough on me, but I knew there was respect there.
Sure.
And yeah.
So we talked about this offline before we came live on the show. I got a good friend I grew up with in high school, all in on wrestling. Him and his brother had 5 state championships. They're pushing their kids in wrestling. They wrestle all year. They're in clinics all year. They go throughout the country to different tournaments in Vegas and all this kind of stuff. Specialization in sports is what I'm leading to, right? When we were younger, and including him, we played a lot of different sports, right? And I was told you were actually a pretty good football player too by some people that grew up with you. Is that something with Jack, your son, and
you sound surprised, Jay?
What's that? No, I'm not surprised.
You sound surprised.
I'm not surprised. You're a big guy.
Man, I broke more helmets at Central Regional. No wonder why I forget shit now.
Exactly.
I'm certain I had like multiple concussions.
But if you see talent in a kid today, do you think they should specialize? Like, do you agree with that specialization at a certain point? And at what point do you think that makes sense? And should they play multiple sports as a kid? What do you think?
All right, so it bothers me because no, I don't want the specialization. And the professional teams, I'll just stay with baseball because I know baseball. They talk about how they want athletes. But Jay, it's really hard, especially in baseball. Maybe in a grunt sport, not wrestling because there's a lot of technique. But maybe football, if there's just pure athleticism and you're just bigger, stronger, faster than your opponent, like that prevails. But with baseball, it's such a nuance. It's an artistry. There's so many facets to it, and the ups and downs, and it's a mental game. All this crap. I think I hate to say it, but if you don't do it, you get behind.
You probably won't go pro, right? Yeah.
I'll use my son as an example. My son, he played football up until high school, in the local football. He played basketball up until his sophomore year, and then he joined like his own AAU team just for fun. Because I told him in the wintertime, up and down the court, I don't care what kind of player you are. You could be a crappy player, shoot, run, throw, dribble. Like there's great athleticism. Love basketball. But he dedicated to baseball. And early on, Jay, my son was not a big kid. And I'm using my son as an example because he turned out to be, he's pretty good. And then I wanted him off the mound. He would do all the work at the house because I had a cage and pitch him, whatever. And then I started seeing, like, he started getting better and better, and his work here, and then he'd go on the showcase and all the stuff that kids do. And then he emerged from not being the hitter, but a pitcher. Yeah. And it does get sports specific. I hate to admit it.
So basically, if you see that there's potential for him to, whoever this kid is, no matter who they are, right? If you see there's potential that he might be able to get to that elevated level, you gotta like dig in and really focus, right?
All right. So here, I'm going to say this, and I don't know who's watching this thing, but the thing that bothers me most, and I could promise you, I never ever. This wasn't about me. It was about my son. It's about my kids. And if they love it, the couple things that are really important to anything in life, and you know this, but specifically with baseball, is that you better love it. Does a kid love it? Oh, absolutely. Okay. Does he work? And I'm not talking about work. Hey, did you get your work in? Right. Did you get to the gym? Did you get your running in? Did you get to... He wants to do it. I would come home and I'd hear the batting cage. Ding, ding, ding. I turned to my wife. I was like, "Is Jack out there?" He's like, "Yeah, he's been out there for like 2 hours." I'm like, "All right." So that's the start of it. You push. There's parents that pushing their kids because they want their kid to get the scholarship. They want to watch their kid in the big leagues or the NFL or the NBA. No, it's not going to work because eventually there's some resentment because they don't love it, and that whole snowball thing. So, love it, work your ass off. One major caveat, X factor, is to always think about trying to get better. There's one thing about work. You got a lot of grunts out there that working on the wrong shit.
Right.
Or you're working on stuff and you're not getting any better. So, where do you pivot? How fluid is it? I always say that. Like for me, when I got, when I finally established myself as a big leaguer, I said this to all of my big league friends. It's like every player should, and I hope, make it to a playoff, preferably a World Series, and make an all-star team.
Yeah.
And when I got to that point, like I felt like, yeah, you know what? I am one of the best.
Yeah.
And what are these guys doing to be the best? I'm watching these guys, Greg Maddux and Clemens and Smoltz and Glavine, and all the guys, my peers, Randy Johnson. I'm like, all right, what's he doing? Like, what? Yeah, he's got all right. And you start figuring out it's attitude, it's approach, it's work ethic, it's belief in yourself. To just say, you know what? I'm rolling the dice, baby. Here it is. I'm not afraid of anything. Let's go.
What you're saying rings true to something I have here. I wanted to read to you, actually. Angela Duckworth. She's a professor of psychology at UPenn and the author of a book titled Grit, The Power of Passion and Perseverance. She has said that highly successful people had a kind of ferocious determination that played out in two ways. First, these people are unusually resilient and hardworking. And second, they know in a very, very deep way what they want in life, and they go after it. How do you instill this, though, in your children? It looks like you did it with Jack, right? How do you, because I got 4 kids, and I know I had the grit. I don't think I would have gotten to where I was without it. I was obsessed. We're going to talk about obsession in a minute. Completely obsessed, worked all the time. Actually, a lot of sacrifice in doing that with personal relationships. And we'll talk about that too. But how do you get your kids to have developed grit? Because we had grit because of the way we grew up. Not that we were poor, like we said, right? But we knew what we wanted, and we knew around us it wasn't here, and we got to do something to try to get there. And we loved something that we went after, and we just dug in. So how do you get your kids to have grit, especially when you have money, right? And it's like they don't necessarily need the grit, I guess, right? How do you develop that, Jack? How did you do that?
Yeah. Jay, that's a great question, and maybe it's DNA, maybe more of it DNA than parenting. But I'll say this, and I'll give it as an example of my experience, and who knows where my kid's going to go. It looks interesting, and yeah. So whatever. But I think if we could, as a parent, if you can instill, hopefully not in a browbeating, bang the hammer way, to make something that you think would be ideal or something that they would enjoy important. If a child at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever, but 10, whatever that age is, where they start valuing something that's important to them, right? We talk about, there's plenty of people in life that they don't know what the hell they want to be. Yeah. I mean, I don't know when you figured it out. I mean, you made a ton of money in technology.
Early 20s.
Good for you.
Yeah.
But there's very few, right? There's very few that Kurt Vonnegut, the song or the commencement speech. I know some of the most interesting 40-year-olds that still don't know what they want to be. So don't stress over it. So have the kid feel as though it's important to them. Now you can kind of guide that to it, but I think also make it interesting and fun. That then pulls it out of them to want to be good at it, right? So here, I always say this and it's sports related, but people, you interview a lot of interesting people. It could be science, math, and Wall Street, and technology, and entrepreneurs, and science, whatever. You can help guide to respective areas, right? And hopefully extrapolate, and your kid will eventually see what they are good at and what they're not good at, and where you then invest your resources to help them be as best they can be. But I deliberately, when my son was very young, we'd go to a basketball game, we'd go to the football game. Now, of course, I had the resources, but I didn't want to just go. Like, I tried to make them feel how cool it was and interact and get close. And when you get there, you sit there and you talk the game, and hey, what's going on there? And let them, they're clueless, right? But they're watching and they're listening to their dad, like, whatever, oh, look at that play. And I know then with baseball, obviously I was playing in the big leagues at times. So there was some easy connection there for my son to realize that this was really cool. Yeah. One of the stories, because there's been a lot written and said about my son leading up to the draft, but when my last year in '05, Jay, I was with the Mets for 7 years. They didn't want me for just 39, turning 40. The Marlins signed me to a 1-year deal. I was terrible, just couldn't figure it out. My family was still in New York City. And then at the All-Star break, Brian Cashman, GM of the Yankees, trades for me back to the Yankees. So you talk about full circle. Start with the Yankees in '87, and in '05, I end with the Yankees. And the rule that Joe Torre, who was the manager at the time, was that all the sons of the players, for obvious reasons, at the end of the game, if the Yankees win, they would have let the boys come into the clubhouse.
That's so cool.
So my son is, let's see, 05. So he's 5 years old, 5+. And the first time I get traded, and I'm like, this is cool, man, because I know I'm not playing much longer. So I tell my wife, Laura's like, all right, they win. You get Jack down here, get his ass down there. And as soon as they win, come on in. So it turns out the first time, Jack and all the kids are down there, and it's, whatever. It's the Yankees. And old Yankee Stadium. They win, and my wife didn't know what to do. So the door opens. He sees other kids running in or see their dads. So Jack goes in. I'm in the shower, Jay, and I'm not at my locker. So Jack comes in. He's standing in the middle of the locker room. Like all these big, scary men. He's like, oh, my God, where's my dad? One of the club is like, hey, your kid's out here. He's looking for me. He's crying. So I come out and I go, now it's cute as shit, the story now. And I'm like, Jack, it's okay. Oh, yeah. Just sit them over at the locker or whatever. The next day at Yankee Stadium again, the Yankees are down 3-1. We then get like a 3-run inning in the 7th. And my wife says Jack starts crying in the stands. And she's like, what's the matter? She goes, I don't want the Yankees to win. I'm going to have to go to the clubhouse again. Yeah, so my point is that for him to be around that shit, it was just obviously that's different.
No, it's really not in some ways, because the reason why I called out earlier that you're one of my docents is that your success made success feel attainable. Even though I wasn't a baseball player, I said, look, here's a guy that walked through the same hallways that I did. Here's a guy that went to the same town, had the same teachers, had the same coaches, had the same socioeconomic background. Everything's basically the same. If he could do it, why can't I? And why not, right? Why not? It's like what you put in Morge Field, right? With Al Leiter, the Leiter Field. Why not you, man? Why not? Believe in yourself. It starts with believing in yourself, then you got to put the work in and be passionate about it.
Yes. If you're inclined to do so, right?
Yeah.
If that's and I just a little bit that I know of you, and I know you're charitable and you're giving, and you're a good guy. I don't know you well, but I sense that. Yeah. But I mostly sense with you, Jay, is your desire. Another thing too, my dad used to make fun of me, or actually, I think I annoyed him. Curiosity.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get to something that I did some really cool stuff, and people probably watch. Easy for Al Leiter. Look at him. He played baseball and made lots of money. No. That was one thing, but there's a lot of people. These owners don't want to give the money away. They have to do it because 100% you deserve it because of the system. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of people I played with that were way more talented than me that didn't make it. You find out about a guy, hey, what happened to Tommy? Oh, he got the AA and got hurt or this and that, whatever. But the curiosity, my dad used to get mad at me because I was always like, what's that? He'd be fixing something down in the basement or whatever. And he'd hey, what's that? I was always like, and he's like, looking at me like, get out of here, kid. But I was curious. I was curious how the hot water heater worked. I was curious why the furnace would go out and we needed a new valve for the gas. I don't know. There was something. Just curiosity. I think that's a really, really good quality. Yeah. And we're losing it because kids are robots and they're afraid to ask questions. Yes. Yep. 100%. Yes. What is that? How does that work? Why is that? I don't know. Hey, let's look into it. But here, I'll tell you this, Jay. So I knew I can make an impression, right? Just what you said. And I appreciate you saying that nice things about me, because I do believe that if you have an example of somebody that you're like, hey, I could, I'll admit it. Maybe mine's in football or technology or science or Wall Street, whatever, but I can do it. When I signed one of my multi-year contracts with the Mets, and I told the Mets I wanted to make a contribution that we agreed to a number, and then I told Mr. Wilpon and Nelson Doubleday, who owned the Mets at the time, they were both co-owners. I said I want to take $1 million out of what I just agreed to, and I want you as a club to make a contribution to my foundation. They get a write-off. It's 501c3, and then I do, in coordination with the Mets, let's do some good. And I'm making this point because I just knew what I did, aside from being charitable and taking care of people that should be taken care of because of the means, to do the right thing. But the exponential facet of that, it wakes people up. And it's not about the big shot who's giving away all the money. It's about opening the eyes of people to want to do the same.
Yep.
Kind of the story earlier about Morge Avenue, when they built this beautiful complex with indoor batting cages and like really cool stuff.
Yeah.
Like, that was on them. And that was the impetus behind it. So I just think that when you're curious and you keep your mind open and you say yes to a lot of things, which I did, I got a chance to do some really cool stuff with some really interesting people, and I said yes. That's another thing that talking about inspiring your kids. Say yes. If you have a kid, no, I don't do that. No, say yes. Go try it, man. Try it. You might like it. You might not. I remember when Mayor Bloomberg, when he ran as a Republican, somehow, some way, whatever, I was involved. Like, I'm like this 2-bit like peripheral guy. Like, I just think politics is kind of cool. Not now, but it was. Michael Bloomberg took a liking to me, and I was respectful to him, and he kind of allowed me to enter into his world. And I would say we're not, we're friends, but we're not hanging out. But he was good to me. But as a result of that, it opened me to some really cool stuff of what Michael was doing. And, I got involved in his, when he became mayor, and, I emceed his first inauguration on the steps of City Hall. Like, me, like, what
That's
the
so
hell?
Cool. Guy from Bayville.
I said yes. Bye from Bayville. I'm emceeing and introducing Hillary Clinton and the president of Clinton, whatever. Just, his next term, he replaced me with Barbara Walters. I'm like, really, Michael? You replaced me for Barbara Walters? Good move. After 9/11, Rudy Giuliani put me on the 9/11 commission, which was super interesting, but really interesting people. Arnold Schwarzenegger was on there, and Al Pacino, and not Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, like kind of a who's who. I thought it was the coolest thing, Jay, in this, this boardroom, and there's this huge ass table, and like, I'm just like, I can't believe I'm sitting here. But back to the say yes, why not? Let's see, what year was this? This was 03. I'm with the Mets. Ed Gorin, who ran Fox Sports, called me and said, hey, we chit-chat. He said, what do you think about doing the NLCS in the booth with Brenneman and Steve Lyons? And I remember I was in my apartment in the city, and I was like, yeah, that sounds exciting. Yeah, I'll do it, Ed. So we hang up. My wife looks at me. She goes, who's that? It's like, that's the guy who runs Fox Sports.
So cool.
She said, what does he want? He's like, he just offered to have me do the Fox NLCS. She looked at me. She said, and what did you say? I said, yes. She goes, have you ever done a game? I'm like, no.
We're just
and
talking.
She's looking at me like, what? Yeah. So it's the Marlins Cubs. It's the Steve Bartman. I don't know if people certainly Cub fans know, but Steve Bartman's fan. He catches the ball. Moise Alou knocks the ball out of here. They blamed on him. The Cubs lose, and the Marlins go on to beat the Yankees in 03. So then the next year, same thing. They call and say, hey, look, we think you did a good enough job. You want to do it, but this time we're going to put you on with Joe Buck and Tim McCarver. So it's going to be the A game. And I say yes. And I'm doing the 04 ALCS. Red Sox down 3-0. They come back to beat the Yankees, and that's the first time the Red Sox won in 04 when they go down to St. Louis and beat the Cardinals. So my point is, Jay, like, what the hell? Why not?
Yeah. Put yourself in a position, right?
If given an opportunity.
Yeah, Woody Allen says showing up's half the battle or something, right? You just got to get yourself in position, create the opportunities for yourself. Let me just say this to you, Al.
And I only say it, Jay. I only say it. This isn't like some brag session at all. But you're sparking some things to, yes, like that. And then it formulates a more interesting human being, I think, right? We can really get in that rabbit hole or in that tunnel and, baseball, sports, technology, like science, like, like
broaden your horizons.
Try it out, man.
Broaden your horizons. All right, let me ask you this. You got late nights, early mornings, neglecting some friends, possibly losing some along the way, being misunderstood, feeling overwhelmed, feeling alone, questioning your sanity on the journey. These are the cost of success, also known as the loneliness of excellence. Becoming the best at what you do, though, requires an absolute obsession. So can you walk us through the obsessive behavior you had as a player? Because it's not just purely genetics. We've talked about this too with like, oh, maybe you just got lucky. It's like, come on, bullshit. Like, tell us, what kind of work ethic did you have to have on the journey to becoming who you became and getting better throughout your career?
So a couple things that is true, because I think at the end of the day, and this is going to sound cynical, but at the end of the day, and it's not cynical when I say this, and maybe you could relate. I don't know how many people are really, really happy for other people's success. And I say this to my kids. I say, listen, other people's success is not your failure. And I think people view that like, damn it, why Jay Gould? Hey, Johnny, did you see that? He sold his company for $30+ million. What a lucky son of a bitch. Why did he get, whatever. Like, and my business, like the contract, it's on ESPN.
Everybody knows.
Everybody knows what you signed for. So you can't hide that crap, which really sucks, because it's like, whatever. But I get through that because I just, one, if you're that way, I feel sorry for you because, again, you're, someone else's success is not your failure. And you should go for it. Like, you go get yours. I believe that. Ray Kroc didn't become a millionaire until he was in his early 50s or something like that. And there's numerous stories of people not giving up. So I'll get to this, Jay. There was a guy, matter of fact, his name is, well, it was because he passed away. His name is Harvey Dorfman. And this was a book. You brought it up, and it's always nearby because I have my son read this, and I have anybody in baseball, minor league, big league. The Mental Game of Baseball, Harvey Dorfman, Carl Keel. After my second shoulder operation with the Yankees, as I told you, I was going back to college. I accumulated college credits, eventually got it online through Penn State, and terrific, but took me forever. And I thought I was done. Got my Series 6. I was studying for my Series 7. I was sponsored by Prudential Beige at the time. And then there was my very first pitching coach from the Yankees minor leagues. His name is Gil Patterson. Love him. By the way, I mentioned Dave Rigetti. Gil Patterson to this day. Docent. I would do anything for Gil. He would, Docent. Thank you. We were friends, and he said, look, I was in Florida. We were living in Plantation at the time. And he said, you need to fly out and meet this guy, Harvey Dorfman. I'm like, Harvey Dorfman from the Mental Game of Baseball? He's like, yeah. I'm like, oh my God, it's the Bible of every minor league baseball player. So I called through this connection with Gil. I flew out to Phoenix, Arizona in the winter of 1991 after my second arm operation. And he picked me up from Phoenix Airport. He lived up in Prescott, Arizona, north of Phoenix. And I stayed there for the weekend. He and his wife, his kids were grown. And it just took me through this. And maybe I'm belaboring this right now. But what it did, Jay, was it got my mind to understand what my job was. And this is where we go wrong in life as a whole. I was just talking to one of my daughters the other day. She works at Bloomberg. She's in finance. And, it's not her thing. She graduated Vanderbilt communications degree, and now she's working in a financial, So I think when you get too big with your thoughts and your window gets large, yes, have short-term goals, midterm goals, long-term goals, and they're going to change. Sure. But I think when you start losing the focus of like right now, this is what something like this helped me to really stay in the moment. And the reason you stay in the moment is because it's the most tangible thing that you can do. You can actually control the moment. I can't control next week. I can't control 2 weeks.
Focus on what you can control.
I got a deal that I'm hoping it closes, and I'm frustrated by the other side, but I can't control. So it's grasping the most tangible aspect of what you're trying to accomplish, being able to control it, because you now have the ability to by physical and mental preparation to understand what you're trying to accomplish and go after the task. Didn't say about success. I just said go after it. And for me as a baseball player, and it could relate to anything, is that my job as a pitcher was to execute a quality pitch consecutively until either the manager takes the ball or the game is over. With a major X factor caveat of not allowing the exterior distractions to come into the task at hand. Period, exclamation point. So what is that? Is it something out of a book? Yeah, it is out of a book. But when I got on the mound in Game 7 of the World Series and at Pro Player Stadium against the Indians, and they peeled off every tarp at the stadium, and there were 60-plus thousand people there, and I told my pitching coach, Larry Rothschild, legendary pitching coach, love him, the first pitch of the game, I'm throwing a curveball. Because in Game 3, I was fastball slider, and the Indians got me up in Cleveland. And I looked at two left-handed pitchers that faced the Indians in the 97 playoffs in the American League. One was David Wells from the Yankees and Andy Pettitte from the Yankees. Andy Pettitte got hit around. Andy Pettitte was a fastball slider guy. Both lefties, I was lefty. And David Wells had the big, slow curveball. And he nailed it. And I'm like, I'm throwing it. So I got into this whole, my preparation was impeccable. I have to admit, if there's one thing, I might not have had the best shit, but batters, hitters, coaches, teams, they knew it was a battle. I was that guy. And the first pitch of the game, I'm warming up down the right field line. I'm bouncing curveballs. Charlie Johnson's the catcher, and I'm convinced of it. I want to throw, and I threw hard. So it was like kind of a statement pitch, right? I didn't throw one curveball in the warm up for a strike. Go down, towel down, World Series, Game 7. This is it, man. This is what you dream about on the side of the house in Bayville. And first pitch, play ball, and Charlie Johnson went curveball, and I went, woof. Omar Vizquel was the batter for the Indians, and he takes it, strike one, and that one pitch gave me the and it was a good game. We ended up winning 3-2 in 11 innings, and I pitched well, but that mindset of really small. Really small. I've been looking at the camera up here, but you're down here. So when I'm looking at your shirt, move your arms for a minute. Move your arms. All right. So locked in. So now when I'm looking at it, if I'm going to throw to you, I'm not just looking at the whole word. I'm going to look at the upper angle of the K, and I'm going for that.
Wow.
Aim small, focus small, aim small.
Just
aim
like
big,
your dad
miss
in the
big.
backyard. Don't miss. Yeah.
Right. So but I can control that, right? And it's not about the shutout. It's not about the no-hitter. It's not about the win. It's not about the trophy. It's not about the ring. It's about the execution
just a little
or
thing
lack
you got to
of
focus
execution.
on. By the way, this is funny you're bringing this up because one of the things I had for a question here was that I read that you became the baseball operations manager for the Mets, where you focus on scouting, player development with an emphasis on mental preparation for pitchers. It's very interesting you're talking about this because even Michael Jordan has admitted in the book Relentless, Tim Grover was his trainer. He wrote the book. He was also trainer for Kobe Bryant, and he said that even Michael Jordan admitted to having butterflies going into big games. But that didn't stop him. It's a normal feeling to feel nervous going into a big game, right? I'd imagine, though, I got to say, and I'm not just saying this because you're on the show and, the relationship and where you come from and any of this stuff. I'd imagine that major league pitchers has got to be the most stressful position in all of professional sports. I said this to my wife when I was preparing these questions. She's like, what about golfers? I go, no. She goes, what do you mean? I go, first of all, there's 60,000 people screaming when you're away. It's game 7, like you said. Bases are loaded. It's you and the fucking catcher and the batter. That's all you got to focus on is what I was hoping you would say. You preempted me with this. I had this in my notes, actually. I wanted you to describe the mental preparation, which you just did. But honestly, it's not the same for a golfer. I'm not taking anything away from professional golfers, but they literally put a sign up that says, quiet, please, everybody, quiet. It's what are you kidding me? These guys, you're in the gauntlet. I mean, this is legitimate stress, high stress environment. What are you doing to prepare the guys at the Mets when you were working with these pitchers and your son and your nephew and you and your brothers? How do you guys focus in like that? Is it this? focus on one thing and try to block everything out. But some guys can't do it, I guess.
Yeah. Great question, Jay. Damn, you're good at this shit. So here, I'll say this, and the reason why I'm going to agree with you is because one, there's a lot of truth to it, and I'm thinking. All right, I'll say when your wife said, "What about golf?" When you're in a team sport, and I know you played football or whatever other sport you play, you're letting not only yourself down, but you're letting your team down, right? So like golf or tennis, like, yeah, it sucked. It's just me. I can only blame me. I can't blame anybody else. There's nobody else to blame. There's nobody else. There's no other excuse other than did I get the job done? But it's on you. You know, as a starting pitcher, you know, you have a really bad clunker of a game. Like, you're probably not going to win, and it's on you. And on top of that, literally, there's no other sport where you're on a field. Yes, lacrosse and soccer and other big fields, but you're standing in the middle of it. And if that's not enough, they elevate you. No, but they elevate you off the ground 10 inches. So now you're like on this podium. So you stand on the mound in the middle of the field. Everybody, obviously, because nothing happens. Oh, it's also the only sport where the defense starts the offense by actually engaging in activity. But now they got you pumped up a little higher. So there's nowhere to hide. Here, I'll give you this story, Jay. So in 1993, I finally come back, and I'm finally healthy. I was actually a healthy pitcher in 1992. I was in AAA with the Blue Jays. They were just hoping that, because I was traded for like an all-star right fielder, Jesse Barfield, and I had arm troubles. So I was really good pitcher, but the Blue Jays were a really good team. We won the World Series in 92 and 93. 92, we beat the Braves, and then 93, we beat the Phillies. And I was like on the taxi squad when I got called up at the end of the year, but I didn't play in the postseason but it was cool to be around it, whatever. 1993, I started and relieved much of the year, and I had a good year. And I was a reliever during the postseason. And Cito Gaston, my manager, used me in a lot of really, important innings, et cetera. But there was a game at the Vet. Did you go to the Vet much as a kid?
No.
All right. So what the hell? You weren't on those green buses, the Berkeley buses going out to the Vet
No.
Oh my God, the Berkeley Rec. Yeah. We took advantage of that. 50-cent seats. You'd sit in the upper deck in the yellow seats in right field. 50 cents. And then you sneak down the whole time and try to get down to the lower part.
Going to get a drink.
Going to get a drink, and you're sneaking out. So I'm pitching. It's game one. Todd Stottlemyre was the starter. He got whacked in the first inning, and I come in the game as a reliever. So I ham and egged it through like the second and third inning, and I ended up giving up 4 runs. But the moment was, the place is packed. Jim Eisenreich bunts. Lenny Dykstra hits a home run. Dave Holland bunts, and Darren Dalton hits a home run. In 4 batters, Jay, it was 4 runs. Bunt, home run, something like that. There might have been an out somewhere in between there. And back then, remember the whoop? There it is. Whoop, there it is. So I'm standing on the mound. At the Vet. Yeah. On the mound. I'm getting my ass kicked. This is a place as a kid. Even though I was a Mets fan, we went to way more Philly games. Because in Ocean County, it was easy to get to Philly than deal with through Staten Island, go over to Queens, whatever. And the vibration, Jay, of whoop, there it is.
Oh my God.
Whoop, there it is. I'm feeling I shit you not. I'm feeling the vibration on my face. I'm standing on the mound. I'm embarrassed as shit. But I'm looking around the stadium going, oh my God, this is awesome.
It's like energy. It creates energy, right?
Oh my God. The place was going nuts. And I was like facilitating.
And you're the guy that they're going after. 60,000 people are trying to get in your head.
It was great. I mean, it sucked. We ended up winning 15-14 that game. It's crazy.
Okay, I'm going to ask you what's your best game ever, and I'm going to give you 2 games as I remember. 1996, no-hitter against the Rockies. You were at the Marlins, right? 1984 against Wall Township High School. You struck out 32 batters, went head-to-head with John Spinapont, and you pitched 4 no-hitters that year, senior year high school, Central Regional High School. Forever like folklore in Jersey Shore history. I mean, I've heard this story a million times. It's been actually profiled, I think, in the New York Post even. It's unbelievable. You both threw over 200 pitches is my guess. Do you consider the high school game a better game for you? Or do you consider the no-hitter as a pro? Or is there another game that you consider to be your best game ever?
All right, for the fun of this, no doubt, the high school game, as far as the infamy part of it being, actually,
by the way, just so the audience knows, I just want to say this, Al, because I didn't say this part. The game got called because of bad weather, right? And so there was no winner of the game.
0-0. Jay, so my senior year, I was 13-0-1. That game tied 0-0. John Spinapon, who was a hell of a player. He was all-state football player. I think he was a better football player than he was baseball, but he had a great arm, super athletic, strong dude. He struck out 18. I struck out 32. We broke some kind of national record. Yeah. I remember in the Asbury Park Press the next day, all they had was the 32 Ks on the front page, which I thought was cool. I probably got it somewhere.
That's so cool.
Some box. But you mentioned about the one for the ages. So I don't have a dig me room. Yeah. I do have an office. There's some kind of cool stuff. Berto Clemente Award is an award they give to kind of the philanthropic thing. But there is an article that somebody gave me, the one for the ages. It was like the 30-year anniversary of John Spinapon and I. That was cool, man, because it's just so unrealistic. When I tell people
they can't do it today,
even years later, they're like, well, one, they can't do it, right? Because I think cops would show up at the field and arrest the coach because he'd be child abuse.
Trying to rip this kid's arm off.
Yeah, trying to rip the kid's arm off. Which actually teams were upset about that after the game because it was cold. Yeah. In like late March, April, it's still cold in New Jersey. Although the no-hitter's pretty cool, Jay. The no-hit timeline.
I can't imagine. That's why I asked you. I mean, between the two of them, it's like the no-hitter as a pro, it's pretty amazing.
But here's the best game. Talk about like a one-and-done potential, Game 7. In 1999, we tied the Cincinnati Reds after 162 games, and we had to play an extra playing game. We flew. We were on the tarmac. We were in the Diamond Club at Shea Stadium. We were waiting to find out whether the Reds beat the Brewers. If they did, we then. I was flying. I was either pitching Game 1 against Randy Johnson in the division series against Arizona, or this one-game playoff. Reds win. We fly from LaGuardia into Cincinnati, and I'm pitching. And it's a big deal. It's the only game on, right? They got to figure out who's going to be the wild card team. And I throw a 2-hit shutout. And ninth inning, talk about locked in. And this is 100% real. It's at the old Riverfront, which I don't know what they called it at the time. I think it was Synergy Field before the new stadium. Pokey Reese, who's a shortstop for the Reds. I throw a curveball. It's a ninth inning. Ball down the left field line. Second base, and I'm getting the ball back. Our shortstop was Ray Ordonez. I'm looking here in center field. There's a big old scoreboard, and I remember we were winning like 5-0, and I remember seeing the 1 for Cincinnati go to 2 as I was getting the ball back. I promise you, to this day, that's 1999, right? So we're a while away from that, 22 years. Did I get my gazintas right? Yeah. So I catch the ball, and I see the 1 go to 2, and I remember turning around on the mound, going, "Holy shit! I have a one-hitter." It's one of those locked in, pitch by pitch. Keep your head down, blinders on, pull your cap down, boom, boom, boom. And it was that probably was my best game, even more so than the no-hitter because of the meaning of it. We had to win to move on to the playoffs. We moved on to Arizona, beat them, and then we pushed to Game 6 for the LCS. We lost to the Braves. But that was, because you got it, again, as a pitcher, you got to nail it. You can't put your team in a huge deficit. Usually you come up losing.
Al, do you have any regrets? What's the one thing in your career you're like, man, if I would have just done that differently? I mean, you've had an amazing career either way, even afterwards, broadcasting. I mean, I can't imagine you have many regrets. As, what is it? Sinatra says, too few to mention.
Yeah. You know why? Because I don't like to go there, because then you kind of go down this path of like, boy, I wish and I should have, and I don't know. I constantly look forward. It's funny you say that, Jay, because I generally don't. I love this conversation because you are totally sparking some cool stuff, but I don't like. I've got bins and bins of stuff,
Yeah, I'm sure.
and I
Baseballs,
don't look
this,
at
that.
it.
Yeah, right.
It's just like articles and cool stuff. Which is kind of weird. I don't know whether it's a psychological thing that I don't want to look at my past, but regrets. I would say. I mean, I don't know how you are, but there's not a doubt in my mind. My wife, I've been married to her for, wait a minute, 31
You better
years.
get that right.
I was 20. Yeah, no, it's, but, I think about like a partner, and I know marriages, fail and there's divorce rates and all that, but if you can, they say that the two most important things and the one thing you can't pick, the most important thing is if you can pick your parents. Yeah. Your DNA, but you can't. But then the next thing is a spouse, and I tell my kids that it is the most
Buffett says it all the time actually
decision, right? It's true, right? So I think of like my wife. So early on, Jay, I got to the big leagues, and I like to have fun. There was like you have the big game, you go out with the fellas, and sometimes things go sideways for the night. You have a good time, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think maybe, my preparation wasn't nearly as good.
Okay.
And so maybe a guy like this.
So you could have been a little bit better if you were a little more prepared after the game, so to speak, or whatever, right? A little more focused afterwards.
Yeah, I'm not.
Downtime.
I'm not painting myself.
No, I got you. I totally got you. You and I talked about CJ because CJ was on the show, right? CJ Wilson, and he was like, "I never drank in the minors and this and that." You're like, "Oh, relax, have a beer, CJ." But like for him, he needed to do that probably because he was trying to get every incremental ability to get better. And I'm not taking anything away from your work ethic, but like he probably had to work so much harder than the average pro to be a pro based on what he's told me. We've had many conversations. We're friends. So it's like, I don't know that he wouldn't have been a pro either way, but it seems like to get himself to becoming a 2-time All-Star over time in the back half of his career, he got better and better, got the larger contract in the back half. He like incrementally got better throughout his career. And at least he chalks it up to his focus,
Yeah. So I agree. I think CJ Wilson had a hell of an arm. He wasn't the biggest dude. Yeah. And he got a couple nice big contracts. Yeah. But I would argue this, and I actually used to do this with my good friend and teammate Johnny Franco. We would take we would get the tenor of the team and how the vibe was. But while I don't advocate going out partying and drinking, I think there's definitely a need to like loosen up and relax, camaraderie. Like we would have, I can't tell you how many times where the mojo wasn't right. Johnny Franco would get on the microphone or for the flight attendants.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
say, all right, everybody, I don't care. Going to Morton's, Atlanta in Chicago, whatever. It was a day game on Sunday. Everyone at Morton's, you all better be there. Like it was, and then the residual of the laughter and the fun and the hanging out, and some guys go home, some guys don't, and like it's just.
Sure.
I think there's also the need for that, and it's not being irresponsible at all. No, CJ, now that you mentioned it, he had a nice 4-year window, actually, 200-plus innings for 4 years. I'm sure there was probably an injury somewhere in there.
Yeah, he's had 12 surgeries, I think.
Nice deal with,
crazy. All right, let me ask you the next question because I don't want to waste too much of your time here. We're pressing a little bit long here. So, all right, fame and notoriety can ruin some people. But I can just tell you over the years, it has not ruined you, right? Has not had a negative impact on you in any way. How have you been able to manage the ego? Because you're so down to earth and relaxed and a regular guy still. It's not always the case.
I think so Jay, I think this is it. And thank you. Circling back, like the humility that I feel from my upbringing grounds me. I make it a point to still maintain friendships with guys that I've known since fourth grade. Mm-hmm. I know people in my circle, in my world, that have made it. Yeah. They even make fun of me. There's a couple of friends of mine that have made it, and I'll tell them like, "Yeah, I'm going back to down the Jersey Shore. I'm going to hang out with some of my buddies from high school, and they look at me like, "Why would you do that?
You're just
Like, what do
people,
you mean, why
man.
would I do that?"
Right.
Like, yeah, but
Yeah.
Jay, some. I'm sure you do, and I know
Yep.
plenty. I know guys and they've told me this is like, I don't have enough hours in the day,
Sure.
and if somebody can't help me, I don't have time, and I couldn't be bothered.
Listen,
So
I'm going to tell you something I
I
haven't said publicly, Al. One of my investors was
Yeah.
Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn. Another close friend was Naval Ravikant. He started AngelList, very noted guy in the tech space. And another one of my previous investors was Chamath Palpahati. You might see him on CNBC. This guy Chamath, he's like the king of SPACs now. I've reached out to these guys to be a guest on my show. One of them didn't respond, and the other two said, I just don't have the time for that right now. I'm too busy. It's an hour of your fucking life. Like, give me a break, right? It's to your point. It's what can you do for me? The show doesn't have 1 million views. I'm too busy. I'm a big guy. I'm a billionaire. Blah, blah, blah. They're billionaires, these guys. When I met them, they weren't. They became billionaires over the years, right? LinkedIn sold for 26 billion. Naval's AngelList is worth billions. Chamath has become a billionaire because of his employment at Facebook. And it's like, come on, guys. Like, get a little more grounded. Relax. Don't take yourself so seriously, That's what I love about you. You don't take yourself so seriously, And the people that have come on my show are the same. Anthony Scaramucci and others. Like, it's like, well, why not? You're trying to help people with your story.
Yeah. So, and it actually annoys me and bothers me that actually, and it's none of my business, right? If that's the way you choose to live your life, but I find that very shallow and sad.
Yeah.
And so part of not beating my chest too hard, and also too, Jay, I think, aside from an upbringing that was very modest in every sense of the word, and a large family with all older siblings, I kind of, know the pecking order there. So there was I always gave a lot of praise to my siblings, purposely to deflect, because people would have said nice things about me. So I'd push it away to others. But I think because of how I made it and what is making it, I eventually had success. I got a lot of joy out of me doing my job. And as a result of my industry, I got paid a lot of money. So it gave me the resources to do some nice things, right? I mean, to me, that's what wealth is. It's not about airplanes. It's not about yachts. It's not about the biggest house. It's about, I can put my head on my pillow. I don't owe anybody anything. I don't have any... freedom. Thank you. So I don't know. Yeah, I always put it back to that. I didn't like my teammates. I go out and I won't share the names because I don't want to embarrass them, but like big name people that everybody would know. And I'd go to lunch with them. It would just be us two, and a kid would come over and they'd say, no, I'm having lunch. And I'd turn to him, I was like, sign the autograph.
Yeah, that's like, he'll never forget that the rest of his life, that kid,
Right.
One way or the other.
You're being a dick. Like, just like, be nice. It's the right thing. There's some jerks out there that take advantage, but I don't know, Jay. I think it's in the Ocean County water.
I think it is, bro. Philanthropy. We talked about this quite a bit. 2015, you and I both donated a bronze eagle statue. Yours is in front of the high school. Mine's in front of the football field. I thought that was really cool. Tommy Parpanides, the superintendent over there, asked me. He's like, "Al's donating an eagle. Do you want to do one?" I was like, "I guess." Well, I was like, "Sure, why not?" I thought that was cool. I got to meet your sister that day. John was there, and Mark was there. I'm not sure if any of the other siblings were there, but I remember I met, I think, at least 3 of your siblings that day.
And my mom.
And your mom was there. That's right. I met your mom. And that was a great day. My grandfather was there. My parents were there. You're now completely renovating the high school field, which is amazing. Brand new scoreboard. It's like a college scoreboard. Freaking cool. Tommy's been sending me photos. It looks amazing. You've given back.
He's going to hit you up soon.
Yeah, exactly. No, he does. And I've done things. I've done this stuff for the weight room and this and that. We've both done things over the years. I just wanted to draw attention to it.
Great.
We've talked about it a bit. It's in my notes here to draw attention to it. Is there any other, like your charity, can you talk about your foundation that you and your wife have and just explain what it is that you guys support?
So I purposely, in 1996, when I formed the foundation, I kept the mission statement very broad. And it was actually for the betterment of children. We kind of honed in on kids. And at the time, it was very, very easy, whether it was education, social, health, anything super related, because as you form your 501c3, you have to have a mission statement. It's evolved over the years based on some of the things that we contributed. But what I wanted to do, and I know that a lot of my teammate friends that that give back. I thought by having the foundation, I was able to get more involved, as opposed to just writing the check. I think while that's great and people take money, I wanted to have a connection and a meaningful connection. And I think I also looked forward with my kids, and I wanted them to understand the importance of giving back. And again, it's not just about the check; it's about your participation. So my wife and I have always, whatever it's been, and we take kind of a grouping of different ideas. And now my kids are old enough. My oldest is 26, 24. My son's 21. My youngest is 16. So they get involved, and it's really, I think we touched on this too. Like, I'm a karma guy, man. I just think, you do the right thing, and the right thing is helping others, and try to do the best you can, whatever that is, whether it's $10, whether it's $100, whether it's $1 million, whatever it is. And you're making a difference. You're making a difference in the lives of people that are in need. So it's really a broad base of what Leiter's Landing is. And now it's because I'm not with an affiliation, an organization. When I was with the clubs, it was very easy to have the connection of their philanthropic department to help. But it's where I think I connect with as far as giving back and just doing the right thing. That's it. Doing the right thing.
I got some guy. I posted today on Facebook. I'm interviewing Al Leiter today, guys. What do you want me to ask him? So there's a couple fireside questions, if you don't mind going through a couple of these. Quick answers, just quick questions. Some guys, Mark, my dad's friend, Mark says, describe his emotions on the naming of Leiter Field versus Al Leiter Field, the Mortgage Field, right? And the support you have giving towards the goal of promoting youth baseball in the hometown. I think we talked about this a bit. You don't have to really expand on it, but I think it's, again, back to the ego thing. Yeah. You didn't call it the Al Leiter Field at the Mortgage Field, right? You called it Leiter Field, which I thought was always interesting. I think even the Eagle, it was not the Al Leiter Eagle. It was donated by the family, even though you're probably the one who put the money up. Right? Yeah. So So here I was, that was by design. Yeah. I because of all of the Leiter boys, and the Leiter name is synonymous with baseball, certainly in Berkeley Township and Ocean County, and obviously what I did as a major leaguer. But it started with my oldest brother, John, and went right down. John, Carl, Eric, Kurt, Mark, and myself. My sister not playing ball, but so that I wanted to recognize the family. Yeah. Cool. John used to live around the corner from me, actually. He was in the neighborhood over here in Toms River, John.
Yes. Yeah.
Another question. 2021, they want to know, what's your 21 prediction for the World Series MVP and Cy Young?
Oh, my God. Too early for that. But you know what? I'll be honest. So looking at the teams, I think coming out of the chute, the White Sox and what they did, Tony Russo coming back, they are going to be the clear favorite to win that division. I don't think the Indians have enough offense. I think out of the West, in American League, the Astros once again become interesting in that story with the whole banging of the can. I love Dusty Baker. It's a shame that the best player on the planet, the modern day Mickey Mantle, once again is not going to see a postseason in Trout. The Yankees, there's just a lot of inconsistency there. I think the surprise teams, without a doubt, hands down in baseball, are the Red Sox and the Giants. I don't think the Giants hold up. I think it'll be the Padres and the Dodgers. I like the NL East, but it's showing to be very. I don't know if the Mets hold up. I still think the Braves. It's just too early. It's too early. I mean, if this was 2 weeks ago, we were two plus weeks ago. We were talking about how great the Orioles were, and they've lost a bunch. Kansas City started out crazy hot, but in the end, if I had to pick right now, the White Sox are going to win the American League, and National League. It's going to either be the Padres or the Dodgers. I'm not going to overlook the Dodgers, man. They're just too.
Can you predict an MVP or Cy Young?
I mean, I'm a huge. I know he's been on the shelf, but DeGrom comes back again, and I think the other night against Arizona, he threw like 11 pitches over 100 miles an hour. The dude is like this big, Jay. He's tall, but he's not like massive, and his son bitch throws it. And I love Jake. He's a good guy. Of course, I do some things with the Mets. He's the best pitcher on the planet right now.
Here's another good one.
MVP.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go.
No.
No. I mean, MVP's all over the map. There's some guy. Yeah.
All right. Who's the toughest batter you've ever faced as a pro?
Tony Gwynn. Tony Gwynn. The scout report on Tony Gwynn was make sure the two dudes in front of him aren't on base, and put it in a place where he doesn't hit out of the park. Which Tony could have been a home run hitter if he chose to, which he didn't. In batting practice, Tony Gwynn would hit the ball out of the park. He was the best bat to ball guy that I've ever seen, faced and seen. So he would hit the ball hard. He wasn't that fast, so you didn't have to worry about it. He was going to hit a home run. If he hit a gapper, he'd get a double. Tony Gwynn.
My friend Marvin Machado.
More so than even Barry Bonds or who?
My buddy Marvin Machado says, following up on that question, who did you absolutely own at the plate?
So this is a crazy one, but Vladimir Guerrero, who's in the Hall of Fame now, I threw him the same pitch. I threw him a cutter, get on the side of it, because Dave Righetti and Ron Guidry taught me the slider. I threw a curveball and then a slider, fastball, right? So everything went this way. But I threw a cutter, a slider that evolved into a really hard pitch, like kind of Mariano-esque before Mariano. And then Mariano just took it to another level. I threw the same pitch. If the right-handed batter's here, Vladimir Guerrero, I'd throw it, and the ball I kept it upstairs, and it would just do this. Probably in the low 90s. And he swung at it every time nearly. He was 0 for 28. I don't know what year he finally got a hit. It was the end of the year. I think it was like 03. He was still with Montreal when they were Montreal. He hits a ball. He swings, hit a crazy reckless swing, swung at everything. And the ball went down the right field line at Shea Stadium and rattled around. He went to third base and he slid in. And he looked at me and he said, "Can I have the ball?" And that's crazy because he was a hell of a hitter. So I'm going to say Andrew Jones was another guy. I think a lot of the, because I faced a lot of Braves. I don't know. It was cool facing guys. When you first get to the big leagues, when you're on the mound and like now batting Cal Ripken or now batting George Brett.
Names you've known.
Now, when George Brett's in there and I turn around, I'm like, holy
CJ
shit,
was telling me when he was a kid, he dreamed
Brett.
of like facing off against Ken Griffey Jr. And then he faced off against him. He was like, that was like a surreal moment for him. He was like, oh my God, So it's funny because like the guys go pro and then you looked up to the other guys that are a little bit older, like 5-10 years older than you. And you're like, I can't believe you feel like a fan almost a little bit. You got to get out of that real quick. But there's a weird,
Which is, Derek Jeter, like if you look at all the guys when at the end of his career, he was the idol for just about every major league player, right? That played because he played the right way and he did it the right way, all that. Mine was on the older side. When you're facing guys that Fred Lynn, I remember facing him or Chet Lemon or I'm trying to think.
Didn't you play with Tom Seaver at the Mets? Didn't you play on the same team as him at one point?
No, Tom came back.
He didn't.
I was in the. He came back, but I was in the minor leagues with the Yankees at the time. So I didn't get a chance to. Yeah.
I thought you might have been on the same team at one point.
No, it's cool.
Yeah.
I played with Tommy John.
A couple more here. So you were the first pitcher to ever have beaten all 30 Major League Baseball teams. Kind of cool, actually. Is there a stat you're most proud of or something out there you're like, that's freaking cool, man? I mean, I know a lot of guys are like, I don't care about stats. We all grew up as kids. Come on. Like, there's got to be something that you're like, that one I like.
Crap. So it's funny you say that because when I retired in spring of 2006 and the Yankees wanted me to pitch out of the bullpen, and I was just done. I was 40 years old. My kids were getting older. And my brother Kurt had called. He goes, "What are you doing? You just need 24 more strikeouts to get 2,000 strikeouts." I'm like, yeah, but so what? Like, it's 3,000. It's not 2,000. That matters. No, you know what? I'm not that much of a stat guy. But I would say if you're the first of anything, it's pretty cool.
It's cool,
so
right. It'll be broken, but it's cool.
The stat that you just cited, I think because it is first,
that's pretty cool.
I think that. But I was, look, Jay, if you talk about regret before, like if I didn't have the injuries, which, okay, if there's a lot of ifs in life, my career, had I figured it out sooner, it would have been interesting when it came to, as I retired for some cooler things that would be mentioned. But I had some really good years, but I was short of, like, people like, oh, should you be in the Hall of Fame? I'm like, hell no. I mean,
yeah, you should get out of here. You should be in. And you know what I was surprised at?
No,
bro. Listen, Al, I was shocked. You didn't get into the NJSIAA Hall of Fame until 2016. What the hell were they doing over there? That doesn't make any sense.
Oh, I know.
Why did that take so long? I don't understand.
I think I got into the New Jersey Hall of Fame before I got into high school.
Exactly. That's weird. That's like an oversight. I don't understand that.
It tells you how dysfunctional and incompetent that acronym is.
Yeah. Anyway, couple questions about Bitcoin. I always talk about Bitcoin. So we talked about this briefly on our call. You own some Bitcoin, right?
I do.
Yeah. Who introduced you to Bitcoin?
It sucks right now, right?
It does suck right now.
A friend of mine who is very, very much of a Wall Street guy, retired, did very well. We were at a party, over some beers, and it came up, right? Yeah. When is it not? And I said, "Are you in?" He's like, "Yeah." I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, how and why and what'd you do?" He goes, "All I know is that I had to get in, so I'm in." I'm like, "That was your analysis?" He's like, "Pretty much." Like,
you gotta have exposure, right?
For Barclays. Here's a guy with Barclays, like, very successful senior guy, and like that was his analysis of, like, yeah, I just had to buy some.
Everybody's doing it. I got to do it too. By the way. What about baseball players or analysts or anybody? You don't have to name names, but like some of these notable people that you're friends with. Do you know anybody else that's in it? Is anybody talking about it?
By the way, Jay, I'm getting killed.
Don't touch it, man.
I'm not. I mean, it wasn't like my life savings, which I tell people. You do some speculative shit.
Yeah.
Like, just, oh my God, I'm down like
percentage.
Oh my God, 30%.
30%. That's not bad. So you bought recently then? 35%. You bought more recently over the last year?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you bought it because of him.
Yeah, no,
small percentage of net worth, less than 1% is my guess, right? It's a small bet.
Oh,
yeah. Just a small bet.
No, it's Yeah, it was one just as he described it.
Did that guy tell you what he thinks the price could go to in the future over any time horizon, like 10 years from now? It could be X, Y, Z or anything like that?
No. We were both in the same boat. And if it goes to zero, we're
Who
okay.
Cares? Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Although we're not on the gold standard anymore, so maybe they'll use Bitcoin.
I think it might be the Bitcoin standard someday.
When they keep, Jay, you know this crap better than I do, but you keep printing money in the guise of stimulus packages. At some point, we got to pay this shit back, right?
That's the thing. Like the Fed,
it's the old proverbial during the war.
I don't know if it was.
The guy came with a barrel full of. The guy came full of barrel full of money, a wheelbarrow full of money, and they poured the barrel full of money out, and they took the wheelbarrow, right? So,
my grandfather used to say,
I hope
he passed away a couple of years ago. He was 95 when he passed away. And he used to say to me all the time, I'd come home as a kid with like a new pair of Air Jordans or something. He goes, how much are those Jordans? And I'd say, it was like $100. My grandma's going like this. Like, don't tell him, you know. He's like, I bought sneakers for $4 when I was a kid or some shit, you know. And he was always...
He's still wearing the same pair.
He was always very cognizant of prices and inflation. And I looked at an inflation chart, which we'll put up on here on the B-roll actually, right? So the inflation chart, there was not a lot of inflation until about the 50s, 60s, it went up. And then 1971 coming off that gold standard, it's like a straight line, 45-degree upward. And then more recently, it's going like straight up. So one of the Fed, I don't know if it was a former Fed chairman or if it was Jay Powell, but somebody recently, about a year ago when they were printing ungodly amounts of money, they said, when are you going to pay it back? And he goes, first of all, it's a number on a screen. I was like, whoa, you know, and their mindset is it doesn't matter. We can print our way out of this. In every other country that's ever tried to do this, it doesn't end well. It doesn't end well. I think people should have exposure to Bitcoin, to your point, though, in case the dollar does collapse or goes into not becoming the world reserve currency. This could be, like you said, they may back the dollar by Bitcoin in the future and prevent us from using it as a medium of exchange to buy things so you can still use the dollar, right? I believe that.
Yeah, but as you explained to me off air, like there are no financials on this thing. Yeah. Fundamentally, when you look at it, you're buying supply and demand. That's it.
Yep.
Like, how bizarre is that?
It's kind of like that with everything.
Of the,
you know, think about like Tesla as an example, right? It's a 1,200 PE ratio. What are you kidding me? Like, it's ridiculous. It's going to take you like 100 years to get back to even, you know?
Yeah, but you could say that about Amazon or Yahoo back in the day when they didn't have PEs, or if they did, it was crazy. but at least it's a product. Like if we're going to sell this phone, we got something to
The
sell.
product,
like
though, is
what does it cost?
But the product is it's money. It is money.
But I know, but can you use it?
Well, it's no different.
Have you bought anything with Bitcoin?
No, I've never bought anything. You can, but I've never bought anything Bitcoin. But why would you? It's appreciating it.
You could buy.
It's appreciating.
You could buy like an arsenal of weaponry.
But my point is that it's appreciating very fast.
Black market.
Because there's a limited amount of supply. There's only going to be 21 million Bitcoins that'll ever be created ever, right? About 19 million we're coming up on.
So wait a minute. So the Bitcoin. Yeah. So my investment in the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust.
GBTC, yeah.
Am I part of the? Is that part of the 22 billion?
21 million. Yeah, they have the Bitcoin that they're holding and custodying as a third-party custody for you, versus you taking it and putting it into cold storage. Which is a. USB.
So what is the difference between the GBT? What's the difference between the GBTC and the BTC?
So the difference is that what you did is you paid them. And then they went and bought it, and they put it on offline. They took it offline, so they're holding it for you basically. There's a risk, but if they go bankrupt, you lose your Bitcoin, right? Because you don't really own it. You own a piece. You're pegged to the value of Bitcoin and the exposure of the price movement of it, but they're the ones holding the keys to the Bitcoin. But it's no different than buying a stock right now. If you bought stock, right, with whoever your brokerage is, say it's Fidelity or Schwab or whoever, right? If you're with these guys and you buy stock, you don't actually get your stock certificates. Many years ago, they used to mail you your stock certificates, right? Decades ago. They don't do that anymore, right? So they're holding the stock certificate.
I used to want that. I actually, years ago, I'd buy like Disney just to get like the Disney
logo,
cool looking certificate. Yeah. 5 shares of dividend at Disney. Send it to me.
But they don't do that anymore. I don't know if there's a law or something, but like all these brokerages now, they just hold third-party custody for you. So GBTC is doing the same thing with Bitcoin, same as they would do with whatever mutual fund that you would have, Vanguard or whoever. They're holding your stock certificates. But listen, I want to let you go. I really, really appreciate you being generous with your time, coming on the show. I truly appreciate it, Al. And hey, guys, 3-time World Series champion, Al Leiter.